Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and I wanted to come on here to talk about something that the head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, had to say on his Instagram. He put up a 20-slide carousel talking about the future of Instagram, the future of photography, authenticity versus inauthenticity, AI slop, a whole bunch of different things. He even brought up the photo community and cameras and things that he thinks they're getting wrong. And I just felt like I needed to share my thoughts while reading it over. We're going to keep an open mind. We're going to read what he has to say, and we're going to distill it down together. If you'd like to follow along, you can go over to his Instagram, which is Mosseri, and you can look for the 20-slide carousel that talks about, it says, a few thoughts on why creators will continue to matter, how aesthetics are changing, and no longer believing what we see in a world of infinite synthetic content as we head into 2026. So let's put a pin in that for just a second, and I'll do a quick intro. Today is January 2nd, Friday, January 2nd, 2026. The time, 11:09 in the AM. I hope you guys had a happy new year and are ready to get things rolling. Now, all the employees are off. We actually have a new guy starting in January as well. So nobody starts, or everybody's getting back on January 5th, which is a Monday, which leaves me here to do this stuff by myself. So I didn't want to wait, and this is something I can talk about and do on my own. So that's why I jumped on right now to talk to you guys and share what my thoughts are on this Adam Mosseri post. So I'm going to read it for you, and you can follow along if you want at home, or just go ahead and give it a listen. So there is a lot to say. He had quite a bit to say. So let me pull it up here and start with the very first thing. Slide 1. The key risk Instagram faces is that, as the world changes more quickly, the platform fails to keep up. Looking forward to 2026, one major shift, authenticity is becoming infinitely reproducible. Authenticity, let's say it again, authenticity is becoming infinitely reproducible. What does he mean by that? And what does he mean that the platform fails to keep up? I mean, is this an aging world where Instagram is not as popular as it once was? Though I heard a stat that they make $50 billion in ad revenue off of Reels alone. So look, things age and things get better or get worse or continue on. I don't think Instagram is going to fail, and I don't think people are going to stop using Instagram. It is a massive, massive platform. But what he's getting at is the way that people use Instagram is changing. Just like Facebook. People can continue to say that, well, Facebook is dead because only old people use it. Yeah, well, shit, that's like a 20, 30-year span of life that could continue on, and they're making billions and billions of dollars and value for Meta, which owns Instagram, which is also part of the problem that we'll talk about. So that's the first thing. Next slide. Everything that made creators matter, the ability to be real, to connect, to have a voice that couldn't be faked, is now accessible to anyone with the right tools. Deepfakes are getting better. AI generates photos and videos indistinguishable from captured media. Now, yeah, we know that. We know that the stuff is getting good or really good, and then some of the stuff you can't tell what is actually real and what is actually AI. And it's going to continue to get harder and harder, which let's frame what he's trying to say in that vein. That's what he's going for. Next slide. Power has shifted from institutions to individuals because the internet made it so anyone with a compelling idea could find an audience. The cost of distributing information is zero. Well, the power shifted a long time ago to individuals. But on the flip side, I'm reading this on Instagram from the head of Instagram, which is a massive institution. Facebook, Meta, the owner of Instagram, is a massive institution which controls so much, but we don't have free will on these platforms. We are controlled. We can only do so much as the algorithm allows us to do, which is always being tweaked and changed and controlled by Meta. And then, of course, you've got Google on the other side. And Google has made changes in the past to advertising or websites, and those changes have led to less traffic for some and more traffic for others. So people that were doing extremely well might have fallen behind when certain changes were made to algorithms and how search results are compiled, and that could have hurt their business. So yes, we have some power as creators and individuals, but we only have so much power because we still need these large institutions, aka platforms, to help us keep continuing to do what we do. Next slide. Individuals, not publishers or brands, establish that there's a significant market for content from people. Trust in institutions is at an all-time low. We've turned to self-captured content from creators we trust and admire. Yeah, we get that, but let's talk about this trust in institutions is at an all-time low. Part of that erosion of trust is Facebook's fault and Mark Zuckerberg's fault directly. They had opportunities and chances to be a platform that allowed the world to share amazing ideas and to connect with people around the world and to share everything. Except for the fact that when Zuckerberg years ago was asked, should we deplatform certain content, and namely, I'm going to say what the content was Holocaust deniers, and he pandered around the question and was like, well, there is no well. The Holocaust happened, and so when someone denies that it happened, you are perpetuating falsehoods and lies. And by allowing that to happen and saying that freedom of speech is a thing, freedom of speech on this Facebook is not a thing. You can't say anything and there should be some moderating going on. But Zuckerberg, for whatever reason, pandered and couldn't say that, well, no, that shouldn't be on this platform, which has allowed a lot of terrible ideas on the right, on the left, anybody that's radical, to spew hate and bullshit and get it platformed and elevated as hate gets pushed and as rage bait gets pushed. I look at threads, right? And I guess at some point I read, I don't follow people on there. I have very few people that I follow, but I guess the few things that I've read have led my threads to basically be politics. And it's really bad because you read some things that are like, Donald Trump is the greatest ever. He's our savior and he's all of this stuff. But the terms and words that are being used are literally raging people to comment the other way and be like, absolutely not, which makes you think, is this a bot or a human doing this? And we all know that there's lots of bots stirring up the pot throughout the internet that are just trying to get you to try to think that what was once real is not real, and what to believe, you don't know what to believe. So if it's, how do you believe facts when someone's going to question and say there's alternative facts? And a lot of that stems from Mark Zuckerberg and his ability to, what's obfuscate? What is that? I can't remember what the term is. But being that he couldn't just definitively be like, no, facts, we should fact check things, and if they're false, we should get rid of them, they allowed the stuff to stay. So yes, trust in institutions is at an all-time low, namely because of things like Facebook. Next slide. We like to complain about AI slop in quotes, but there's a lot of amazing AI content. Even the quality AI content has a look, though, too slick, skin too smooth. That will change. We're going to see more realistic AI content, I guess, but in a world where people, like, how can you talk about this on Instagram when one of the main filters is skin smoothing and make you look like something that you're not? So I don't know. A lot of this is like, can you have it both ways, Adam? You are part of the problem and you are part of the solution. You run the ship of Instagram. So if you feel that things have gotten too clean, then why do you offer the skin smoothing filters for people to use to get a bad perspective on what they think they look like, or to make them feel like something they are not, to hide their imperfections, which is going the other way. And as we see, we'll get more to that in the future. So he goes on, authenticity is becoming a scarce resource, driving more demand for creator content, not less. The bar is shifting from can you create to can you make something that only you could create? All right, I get what that's saying. I mean, this all does come down to authenticity. we'll keep going. Unless you're under 25, you probably think of Instagram as feed of square photos, polished makeup, skin smoothing, and beautiful landscapes. That feed is dead. People stopped sharing personal moments to feeds years ago. Really? Really, Adam? That may be how you perceive it, but also the shift in the algorithms, the playing that was done a few years ago, where photos that normally would reach people no longer reached people, and you're seeing that a good photo was reaching or maybe getting 300 likes when you're used to 3,000 likes. That shows that you weren't prioritizing quality images. Instead, you guys made the shift to prioritize reels and stories and video, which is fine. And they've tweaked it back so that photos do reach people. Good photos, I feel, reach people. But I don't think that people stopped sharing personal moments to their feeds. I think the feed became too curated for some people, that all they thought about was, oh, is this should I be doing this? Should I not be doing this? Versus just posting. It became more of a game. So you're in control of this. Instagram feeds used to be square photos. But we find out how to evolve into this, but you shouldn't take away what Instagram initially was. I'm not saying you shouldn't ever adapt and evolve, but photography is still powerful. And what is wrong with beautiful landscapes? Continuing on. The primary way people share now is in DMs. Blurry photos and shaky videos of daily experiences. Yeah, that's what he's saying people are sharing. Shoe shots and unflattering candid. Okay, let me just start this off and read this as one statement. The primary way people share now is DMs, blurry photos and shaky videos of daily experiences, shoe shots and unflattering candids. This raw aesthetic has bled into public content and across art forms. Look, I've always been authentic to what I share. I talk directly to the camera. We don't over-polish certain content that goes out into the Instagram world because it's never been about over-polishing. When I started Frono's Photo and started launching, I launched on June 1st of 2010 and put my videos out, they were not highly polished. They became a little more polished over time as Steven came on board, and we changed so that if I said something, we showed it. Like, I never did B-roll in the past. I made mistakes and we cut them out. I think we need to keep more of my mistakes in the videos. I don't think that it needs to be a perfect thing every single time. I like when I make a mistake. Now, I'm not talking about a mistake that's technically wrong. I'm not talking about getting facts wrong. I'm not talking about getting specs wrong. I'm just saying, like, if I make a misstatement and I fuck up, let's just keep going. Let's keep it real. This was me running around the backyard with a Millennium Falcon or some sort of Star Wars toy, or just running and doing weird shit. It was real. It was raw. I don't do as much of that. That's changed over the years, but I still keep it real. And that's what we try to keep here is I use Instagram as a place to talk to my followers, to you guys, to share my thoughts, and to do it authentically. Not with too much polish, not with face or skin smoothing. I don't care about that. Moving on. The camera companies are betting on the wrong aesthetic. This is where he gets into camera companies. They're competing to make everyone look like a pro photographer from 2015, whatever that means. But in a world where AI can generate flawless imagery, the professional look becomes the tell. Really? The professional quality image becomes the tell that it's AI? Now, I beg to differ on that completely. I don't agree that the camera companies are going the wrong way. And he gets more onto this. So let's keep reading. Flattering imagery is cheap to produce and boring to consume. What does that mean? A quality image is a quality image. So he goes, savvy creators are leaning into unproduced, unflattering images. In a world where everything can be perfected, imperfection becomes a signal. As a professional photographer, my goal is not to put out garbage. There is a difference between a quality photo and a not quality photo. And as a photographer who is also a creator and a YouTuber, my goal is to help people become better photographers. That means taking any camera and any tool that they use to create images and help them get the best results. Not shitty snapshots that are just out of focus and blurry just to be out of focus and blurry. We can do panning. We can do things that are creative, that look imperfect, but are done and take time and effort to create. So people want content that feels real 100%. I'm all for that. But saying that savvy creators are leaning into unproduced, unflattering images is saying that, well, non-savvy people are not doing that or doing the opposite, or that I'm unsavvy because I do care about quality of certain things or out of focus backgrounds. Like, I don't agree with this. And I know this might be reading into his meaning, and I like to try and give both sides, not just rip on someone, but also see what perspective they're coming from. The majority of people on Instagram are not professional photographers. So yeah, I think he's more talking about being authentic and not adding the skin smoothing and all the filters that Instagram allows you to do, which if you believe in this, Adam, then you should get rid of them, in my opinion. Get rid of the filters that make someone look 20 years younger with skin smoothing and they just look fake. You want authenticity, then get rid of the inauthentic things on your platform. So there's that. Okay, let's keep going. Rawness isn't just aesthetic preference anymore. It's proof. It's defensive. A way of saying this is real because it's imperfect. Now, you know I'm all about rawness. I'm the I Shoot Raw guy. It's on my forehead, on my hat right now. It's on my hoodie. It's on my shirt. It's not on my underwear because I'm not wearing the I Shoot Raw underwear right now. But imperfect, that's one thing. And nothing is really truly perfect in an image all the time. But a way of saying this is real because it's imperfect, or that the only way to prove something is real is to say it's imperfect, which in the AI terms, and he's going to get to this later, is that AI is very good at copying perfect. And now he's telling us to be imperfect. But AI is going to turn around and be imperfect. It's going to copy everything. Don't be a trend chaser. Don't trace trends. Set trends. Be the one who does your thing. Don't chase what everybody else is doing. Just because people are doing things imperfect on purpose doesn't mean you should copy that. So let's keep moving because this gets into it. Relatively quickly, AI will create any aesthetic you like, including an imperfect one that presents as authentic. At that point, we need to shift our focus to who says something instead of what is being said. Now, this is interesting because he's pushing to this fact that he's aiming for creators to be the authentic voice, to be real, so that when someone turns to you, they know what you're getting or what they're getting from you is real and authentic, which I think which is what I've spent my entire life and career post, 2010 building. Authenticity, realness, rawness with fact, and being able to back it up with the skills and the proof that is in the pudding. That is what I've always built on, and I haven't changed that. I haven't chased the trends to try to be something that I am not. Part of the reason I made videos at the beginning the way that I did, I didn't know how to edit. I didn't like that everything was so polished and no mistakes were in it. So I liked that about my videos. I like the mistakes, and I just said that a few minutes ago. I would like to keep some of that stuff in our video and not make every cut perfect and make everything have to be like that. But I don't think that's hindering our videos. I like to keep the sniff tests, the wind tunnel tests, the slight mistakes, the stupid things that I might say on occasion in the videos because it is real, and you know that it's me. Most of the stuff we do is not scripted. I've got notes for a lot of my videos that I go off on the paper. They're triggers in my brain. I read a script and write a script for Photo News Fix because that's different. But we keep that fun and informative, and it's authentic to me. So let's keep going here. For most of my life, and this is Adam talking, I could safely assume photographs or videos were largely accurate captures of moments that happened. This is clearly no longer the case, and it's going to take us years to adapt. He's right about that. We're going to move from assuming what we see is real by default to starting with skepticism, which is a lot of what's happened in the last 6-7 years online when it comes to news, because someone didn't want to get rid of false news or fact check things and pull down falsities on Facebook. They platformed the bullshit over the years, and they did, and that could be left or right. Whatever side you're on, doesn't matter. Bullshit is bullshit, but facts are fucking facts. Need to have the fact checkers, need to have the facts that are there, and get rid of stuff that isn't. Don't put a note that says this might not be true. If you know that it's not true, get rid of it and get rid of the people posting it. But what he's saying, we are starting with skepticism, and we're seeing that with the news. We are skeptical about a lot of things that we hear first, and we're skeptics first, and then we try to figure out what's right and real, which is tough because we came from a world where we saw it as truth first, and then now it's not. Paying attention to who is sharing something and why. This will be uncomfortable. We're genetically predisposed to believing our eyes. Next, platforms like Instagram will do good work identifying AI content, but they'll get worse at it over time as AI gets better. It will be more practical to fingerprint real media than fake media. Now, when I read this the first time, I was like, wow. So I've got to tell you when something's real, not tell you when something's fake. And I don't like that. I don't like that because I don't even crop. My game is not cropping. I try to keep my images as authentic as possible. And so I don't think that I should have to tag my image as real and not fake media in a world where the slop that you're allowing to go onto the platform is gallivanting as real. So I don't agree. But I also do see what he's saying. And he goes into cameras now. Camera manufacturers will cryptographically, good job reading, will cryptographically sign images at capture, creating a chain of custody. No, I get that. Like, I mean, are they going to put a blockchain in every raw file that I take? Like, they're trying to do authenticity and watermarks, but that doesn't show up on Instagram. I mean, maybe there will be some kind of like, this is authentic, or this gets a green dot, and this gets a blue dot, and this gets an orange dot, and this gets a red dot for something else. I don't know what they're going to come up with. But yeah, camera manufacturers hopefully will come up with something that works so that you can establish the authenticity of the originality of the original image at all times, the original raw file, pre-edits. And then the original raw file, after you edit in Lightroom, will say, original file, no major changes other than editing of, tweaking the colors and whatever. That's fine. But also, let me say this. I don't believe that you should be putting up raw images ever unedited. I believe that our creativeness, not creativeness, but as a photojournalist, you're supposed to be authentic to the scene. And some people will agree with some edits and some people won't. And I'm not talking about cropping. I'm talking about contrast and tones and color and stuff like that. That's where I draw my line. I stick to that aspect of it. I'm not going to crop something out. And what I'm getting with this is, should the original show up, the unedited version, like how it was originally out of camera, and then show the corrected? Like, so if you're off by 2 stops and you brought that back, I mean, I don't think that's that big of a deal. But I think when you start removing and adding shit and AIing stuff, like adding the blurs and the things that weren't there originally, maybe it's going to be different. But do people really care? Continuing on, labeling is only part of the solution. We need to surface much more context about the accounts sharing content so people can make informed decisions. Who is behind the account? Well, okay, this is meaning, are you going to do a better job of getting rid of the bot accounts, the Chinese accounts, the North Korean accounts, the Russian accounts, all of the things in 2016 that were pushing false narratives, that were rage bait and hate bait, that got people it just elevated the falsehoods that were being put out there, which is what skewed the idea of what is fact and what isn't fact. There's a lot of stuff, well, 2016. I said 2016, that's 10 years ago, by the way. So for the last decade, we've seen this shift to saying bullshit that is clearly wrong, but allowing it to be platformed. So who is behind the account? Well, you guys need to do a better job of that, Instagram. For the last 10 years, Meta has been pushing this. There are so many fake accounts out there that are run by their bots, but they're also meant to just push hate. And not just hate, but just to force comments, to say the thing that someone would absolutely want to comment on separately. Meaning, they say something so stupid that you're like, could anybody really believe this? And therefore, the people who don't believe it are going to say, you're a fucking moron, or I don't agree with you because of this. And then it perpetuates comments. The more comments something gets, the more shares something gets, the more interaction something gets, the more views it gets, the more Instagram platforms it and shares it with more people. And they make more money because ultimately that $50 billion coming into Reels, you need to keep feeding it with more Reels. And if something is rage baiting people and it's getting a lot of views and likes and shares and DMs and interactions, then they're going to keep doing it. So Adam, is Zuckerberg prepared to make less money because less stuff is going, like you're not going to get the rage bait going. And you're just going to try and cover the quality content and the people who are behind the account. But counter to that, and this is just off the top of the head, how are you going to verify this stuff? And will that then go back to the beginning of what you said where we used the word, oh shit, I hit the wrong button. Hold on. Let me go back to the beginning of what he said. How do I go back? I don't think I guess I can't go back right now. Oh, because I haven't done it. Let's see. Authenticity, reproductive, deepfake photos, indistinguishable. What is the thing that he said? Institutions. Ah, yes. Power has shifted from institutions to individuals. Well, if you start changing this to approved accounts, is that going to make it harder for the other people to start and build and become, to become what it took me years to become, a voice, someone I think that's authentic in the field, to share my thoughts, right? Is that what's going to happen? Are you bringing gatekeeping back into this where you become the arbiter of what is quality and what isn't and the people that should get the golden star? So think about that. All right, so I'm continuing on here. It'll get worse. Okay, real media, then fake media. Cameraman. Okay, to who is behind the account? Got it. In a world of infinite abundance and infinite doubt, the creators who can maintain trust and signal authenticity by being real, transparent, and consistent will stand out. I mean, this is common sense on the internet to me. I've been real, I've been transparent, I've been consistent for going on 16 years now, since 2010, four so months before June 1st of 2010 when I launched. So it's been around 16 years that I've done this. So longevity is important. Being authentic is important. Not bullshitting your following, not overselling to your following, being real. That's all important. Of course that will stand out. But you make it harder on these platforms to stand out, not because there's more competition, but because the algorithms get tweaked and things get changed. But we have to adapt and evolve as creators. It's always happening. I've seen it on YouTube. Every couple of years, the thing shifts. But if you stay consistent to who you are, you try some things work, some things don't. You try something else, then you continue, but you keep evolving and adapting. But again, don't chase the trends. The more you chase trends, the more you get left behind as these things change, because all you're doing is copying others. So be you, be real, be authentic, all of that. Be transparent and consistent, and you'll stand out. Adam's right about that. Next slide. We need to build the best creative tools. Label AI-generated content and verify authentic content. Surface credibility signals about who's posting. Continue to improve ranking for originality. Okay, I mean, I'll take it. Is Zuckerberg happy with this? Because let's not forget that every time you accidentally hit the wrong button on Instagram, that stupid AI assistant pops up. And let's not forget, Facebook has their AI assistant, which is making fake shit. So I don't know. Can you have it both ways? Maybe it starts with you only allowing certain things with AI at the generation level. Continuing on. Instagram is going to have to evolve in a number of ways and fast. Oh, that's the last thing he had to say. Verifying authenticity. So I left a comment here on his post, and I said, I don't agree on the part about making my photos look crappy because they are too well captured. I am a professional photographer. I will not chase trends. I will stay true to the craft regardless of AI trying to copy me. Don't play to the lowest common denominator, because in time, AI will start to copy the low quality aesthetic as well, which I might have jumped to conclusions because he did mention that. But I'm more talking, I mean, yes, he did talk about that. But again, it comes down to authenticity. I will not change the way that I create to mirror and reflect what Instagram does, which is why I always yell at people when I'm critiquing work and their Instagram or they're cropping images for Instagram in 4:5. Well, that's inauthentic to me. And I think that you're trying to share on a platform that doesn't care much about images anymore, even though they've done a good job of tweaking back from the time where they pulled to the precipice and basically jumped over the edge and made it so that our images weren't being sent out to as many people. But I don't think you should change how you are as a photographer and the images that you create to try and play towards the algorithm. I'm not going to change how my image looks. Now, people used to crop squares. I leave my images full frame, but I'm well aware that on Instagram it's going to be 4:5, and that is what it is. Sometimes if it's my 4:5 images, I will add a border so you can see the whole thing. You can see the original shot. And other times, I wish they made it easier. I wish they would allow us to do 2:3 aspect ratio to keep the original aspect ratio in there. Adam, if you want authenticity, then allow us to keep our images in 2:3, which is what we originally captured for. And then if you want 4:3 and you want all of these other options that camera manufacturers have created, like the cell phones and all of that, then stick with it. Then give us all those choices and options to be authentic to the camera that we captured with, and not have to be inauthentic the other way. So I do believe and agree that AI is getting really good at making perfect images. I don't agree that means I should make imperfect images, therefore. I don't think I should dumb down my quality, because the same thing would happen in wedding photography. I wouldn't dumb down my quality because someone liked a blurry, out of focus bullshit image that some young person, let me take that back, that some any age person was influenced by some trend bullshit that said out of focus blurry images were in. And I'm not talking about thought out panning type shots, or tracking images that might have a little motion blur, but that's done with creativity. I'm talking about people on purpose making their images out of focus and then calling it good. Just like when you see people taking film photos and they pawn them off as, well, I shot it on film, therefore it's more authentic, but it looks like shit. A good image is a good image is a good image, whether you capture it with a cell phone, a potato, a tin can, an R5 Mark II, a Nikon, a Canon, so it doesn't matter. But a shit image is still a shit image, no matter what you took it with. And just because you shot it on film and got it processed and scanned and shared it with the world doesn't indemnify you from still having a quality composed and exposed image. You don't get kudos because you used film. You don't get extra credit because you took a shitty picture on film but consider it to be good because, well, I shot it on film and it's whatever. Great. So you got an exposure. That doesn't mean that it's a great image. I take this is where I saw the other day, the NHL posted, and the NFL's been doing stuff like this too, that's someone shot an original six team. Original six were done 100 years ago, those teams. There were only six in the NHL when it started. And someone shot with a 100-year-old camera, which is great, but they shot color, for one, which was not there 100 years ago. And two, the pictures are snapshots. And I applaud anybody for trying and getting exposures right and shooting the film and experimenting. But that doesn't make the results good. Good is what makes the results good. My 4x5 images out at the baseball field, I take the utmost care in shooting those and capturing those. I have ones that are bad that I'm like, I will not share this because this is not a good image, even though it was shot on 4x5 and I processed and developed it. That doesn't make it automatically good. I like a lot of my shots. And yes, I think a lot of my shots that I've done with the 4x5 are better than what these other people are doing. But this also comes down to authenticity. In a world where Yes, the fake is really good, but I've already said this, good is good. But in a world where fake is pushing out more, I don't think in a creative world of photography or videography, that going the opposite way and taking shitty pictures and making them worse on purpose is the answer. Maybe the answer is me teaching people to take better images. And I don't think he's fully right, Adam, when he's talking about camera companies going the wrong way. Yes, the Sonys and other companies have put in skin smoothing, and they'll be putting in more AI features in the future. But also, just by saying that a picture that has an out-of-focus background is 2015, and that was cool then. No, there's a reason there's a reason Apple and Google and everybody and Lytro not even Lytro, tried to come up with the portrait mode because it looks aesthetically pleasing. And there are times where everything being in focus is aesthetically pleasing and can be the right choice. And there's a time where too many things out of focus don't work. Like if I'm in Paris at the Eiffel Tower and I can't tell that I'm at the Eiffel Tower because it's a complete blur in the background, that's a choice that you need to make. And there's a difference between a quality image and not. But as a professional photographer here, and as an educator, which I understand that I am, it's important for me to continue to teach and inform and educate people on how to be a better creative and how to be a better photographer and stay authentic. That's why I stress shooting raw. That's why I stress not cropping. That's why I stress getting the right tools for the job to move closer so you don't have to crop. Of course, that's when you can afford it and you've done enough. But I always tell people, use the cropping as a way to learn for the future. That if you took an image and it shouldn't have been that wide and you cropped it and you like the results of your composition, then by all means learn from that for the next time. So I'm all for you cropping as you're learning and starting to train your brain to what is a good image. But I guarantee you go through 100 images, you will stop at all of the good ones. I've seen it time and time again when I'm critiquing people's work here at boot camps. We go through like, okay, this is fine. Holy shit, you stop at one and you're like, everybody's like, ooh. There's the same visceral response that everybody gives every time they see a quality image. You know what quality is versus crap. And whether that's harder to tell with AI, okay, fine. I'd rather have you label everything with AI as a big-ass watermark or something. I shouldn't have to be like, well, this is real and prove and show you and tell you that it's real when the rest of the world is being fake. I don't know what the answer is to this aspect because I don't know what they're going to do with so much fake stuff out into the world. It is much harder to tell what's fake. I personally try and not share or watch AI slop content, which is generally content that's funny. It's these comedic things that they pull off, like I'm not even going to say because they're usually off color, but I find that to be funny. But I also don't want to watch and consume it because I don't want to get served everything that's fake and fake. So maybe Adam is going down the path of like putting out this warning, like AI is getting too strong. We need to do something about it. But will he do something about it? Will Zuckerberg allow him to do something about it? Because Zuckerberg is all about those Benjamins and being the biggest company and the richest person in the world. He just wants to be liked. But you want to talk about being inauthentic? Mark Zuckerberg is the king of being inauthentic. Like changing his wardrobe to look like he's some 90s skater kid and wearing the most expensive watch. I have no problem with him buying the most expensive watches. He's like the top 5 most rich people in the world. Buy whatever you want, Mark. I'm all for it. You earned it. Whether people like that you earned it or you didn't, by all means, do what you want. That's fine. But he comes across as so inauthentic. For his wife's 40th birthday, Priscilla, he got Benson Boone's outfit and lip synced jumping off of a piano to try and copy what Benson Boone did. Now that's inauthentic. Filming it is inauthentic and sharing it with the world. Authentic would have been doing it for your friends and letting them film it with their cell phones and share it, not you doing it highest quality, having a film crew there. Adam, that's inauthentic, right? So a lot of it starts from the top. Zuckerberg just wants to be liked. He's never been the cool kid. He'll never be the cool kid no matter how much money he has, but he could do good. And at the beginning, Facebook was more for the good, and it's morphed into what it's morphed into now. And of course, they own WhatsApp and they own Instagram and they tried to own Snap and whatever. So anyway, that's my take on this whole thing. Don't become something because AI is getting better at being inauthentic or being authentic. Don't go the opposite route, because as we already shown, AI is just going to copy that. It's going to copy the trends. Don't chase trends, play the long game. I will play the long game. I've continued to play the long game. That's important to me. You will do good over the long run. You will do better over the long run if you stay authentic to yourself. And that's not saying you don't chase a few things here and there. You don't try a few things. Be a trendsetter, not a trend chaser. You can adapt and you can try, but stay true to who you are. But that also doesn't mean that you don't adapt and change and evolve, because who I was 15, 16 years ago isn't who I am now. So there's always ways to test and change. And also give people the benefit of the doubt. Who I was 20 years ago isn't who I am today. Who that person was 20 years ago isn't who they are today. Somebody might have said something 30 years ago that at the time wasn't a problem, but picking it up today and calling it a problem and then canceling that person for something from 30 years ago, when they've changed and they've learned and they've evolved and they realize that was stupid back then, that's wrong. So let's just try to keep making quality, consistent, authentic content. Don't chase. Don't do something because other people are doing it and you think that that's the way to win the algorithm. If anybody ever tells you they have the hack for doing better on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, or they have the tricks and the trades and they know the trend, they know how to chase the trend, and they have what's hot right now, and that's what they're trying to sell you, screw them. Because in 2 months, they're going to be selling the next hot bullshit. Don't chase bullshit. Don't chase trends. Set them. I'm going to leave it right there, guys. I thank you very much for listening. I hope you had a happy new year. The time now is 11:49 in the a.m. still. I have to go do some lunch. I hope you enjoyed this little discussion. You could always text me. I haven't pushed the text line in a while, which is authentic because I'm on the text line. 313-710-9729. 313-710-9729. That's our text line. If you did get this far and you're on the text line or not on the text line, tell me that you got to the end of this. You got to the 40 plus minutes of this talk about Instagram. Just text me and say, hey man, I got to the end of your Instagram talk, and then put the date there that you listened to it, or whatever. Well, yeah, just say you got to the end of the Instagram talk. Just type in 6-7 so I know that you got. No, just send me a message. All right, guys. So I appreciate you listening. Thank you very much. Jared Polin, PhonosPhoto.com. See ya.